we're coming to your city. We're gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat here on this fine Monday, November 5, 2018. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going. Whatever you may be doing on this fine day, hope your week's off to a great start and you had a great weekend. Plenty of sports underway over the weekend. Before we get to that, let's get to a few headlines. Brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart in Floyd Knobs on Highway 150. Also, the Hollis auction service that's going on this weekend in Greenville. Make sure you get out there or get your things in there if you want to get that taken care of. But over the weekend in the NFL, Tevin Coleman had a good weekend, a former Hoosier. 88 yards rushing. Another 68 yards receiving, a couple of touchdowns. Big day for him. Jordan Howard for the Bears. He helps them in a big win as well. Some big games over the weekend in the NFL and college. We'll get to a lot of those. Trevor sitting in this morning with us. Hope you had a good weekend, Trevor.
I did. You okay? Sound like you could have used the third day of this weekend.
Oh, it could have been. Just having trouble hearing, and
it's because you're old.
Well, there's no doubt about that. No arguing. Cannot argue that fact.
Are you saying there's an equipment issue or is it an age issue?
Well, I can't hear myself at all, so
well, you're luckier than
I just hope we're going through live.
We might be on. We might not be.
Well, I got a pretty good understanding of why. It looks like it's not plugged in underneath there, but
well, that's what you get for getting a new chair. There's for every yin, there's a yang, as the song would say.
There you go.
You got a new chair, you get no volume in your ear.
Favorite NFL game of the weekend for you? I was watching the Rams and the Saints. That was my pick. Fun game to watch. It turned out to be a hell of a game.
This was one of those good weekends I love because the pluses and negatives of your favorite team being on a bye. Negative, you don't get to watch your favorite team. The plus, you get to actually enjoy football without having to deal with the afternoon games going, man,
I posted that. It's funny you say that.
We lost earlier today, or, the 4 o'clock games or night games are nice, too, for that reason. You can enjoy football through the day. With the exception of fantasy football being, my fantasy life being as pathetic as my reality life, unfortunately, this weekend. It was a good weekend. Well, Saturday, not so much, but Sunday, not too bad.
Yeah, I posted that very thing that you're talking about. Saturday, I was sitting there watching. I was up at Bubba's and watching game after game, and how enjoyable it was. Just sitting here getting to watch some great football games.
Were you watching Louisville and Kentucky fans going through what IU fans go through on a weekly basis? Displeasure and sadness that your
Louisville
team
is
not
so far surpassed. Louisville's in a vat of hell somewhere. I don't, but you go through the clouds because. Being a Louisville fan yourself, what are your thoughts on Braum? Are they able to get him? Financially, are they able to get him? Because it's a $20 million total buyout package for the both of them when it's all said and done. That's before they even get to talking about salary.
Money's moot. I'm not worried about the money. Well, the money will be found. Whether you gotta you gotta give Papa John a call back and say you're sorry, or you got to claim the science department needs new, beakers. I mean, whatever you got to do to get the money.
Does that happen this year after the season? In your opinion?
In my opinion, I don't. I feel negative towards it because that's what I want, and usually what I want, I don't get. So I'm going to stay negative until I see it happen.
Right. Well, like I said,
but that's what I do want. I have been bring Braum home back for about over a year now.
Well, the successful has definitely what he's having up in West Lafayette. Another huge win for his program over the weekend as they knock off Iowa with a last-second field goal. But that's at least the third win over a ranked team this year for a team that started 0-3. They're going to make a bowl game at the very least. So they are definitely fired up there. But I know Indiana fans will be very, very happy. They want Louisville to get Jeff Braum.
Oh, you said do making a bowl. I was going to say who. I know you weren't talking about IU, and I know you were talking about Louisville there.
No, I've said IU wasn't making a bowl for weeks. I've been on that. That's a whole different train I've been on. That's been
Louisville tapped out after the Florida State loss. When did IU tap out?
To me, at the Michigan or the Rutgers win.
The Rutgers win.
When you are up 28-7 on one of the worst teams in college football, and it's all you can do to hang on.
That was the same week, by the way, I believe.
Yeah, probably so, and just ever since then. But to me, the thing was, I bitched all year long that Michael Penix, a true freshman, but he should have been starting from the beginning. He's the best quarterback on that team, and they didn't. And they finally bring him in the Penn State game halfway through the season, and he blows his ACL out, so they get nothing out of him. And now he's not going to be anywhere next year. He's going to be at ground zero still, which is now you've lost an entire season, but they've saved his redshirt year, which I could give a crap less about 2022.
If he's even there, you never know. He could be good enough that he leaves early.
That's the whole thing. It's like, who knows he's going to be here in 2022? And so, but anyway, they. I said I didn't see them winning another game. I don't see them beating Maryland at home. And which is ironic about that, Maryland's current coach is Matt Canada, who is a former IU coach.
Yeah. I actually interviewed him back in 2008, I want to say, when he was offensive coordinator at IU.
But
I had him as a guest on a radio show I was doing.
But he's gonna come in.
He's been around since then. I think he's done. He's
LSU.
Yeah, he worked
Pitt.
at like 6 schools in 7 years or something like that.
I know he was at Pitt, LSU.
Yeah,
the LSU was an unexpected short stop, a 1-year stop.
Was he the one who replaced Cragthorpe in that brief moment?
Yeah, Crapthorpe, and then but they didn't like him down there either. So, but he's gone on to Maryland to kind of clean up that mess. I mean, you got to take your head off to him. What he's done there.
He didn't go there to clean up the mess. He was there when the mess happened, and he was the lesser of the evils in terms of who gets that. I mean, he's an interim coach who, odds are, will not be there next year.
May not want to be there. Well, I hope he's not, because that's someone Indiana could probably grab as an offensive coordinator. Because that's something they desperately
lesson about just hiring in-house people.
Well, that is a point that I disagree. I mean, I agree with. I do. I agree. Indiana is the worst at. They will hire from inside before they look outside.
No, I know it's been 10 years since Matt Canada was a coach there, but nonetheless, I mean, is that really the best hire you can go to?
Well, I can tell you this: it's still a step up. It's a step up. They have the lowest paid coaching staff in the Big Ten, 65th worst in the country.
So your problem isn't the coach you hire. I mean, it's the amount you may want to spend on the coach. Are you going to spend? If you're looking at Matt Canada, you're not breaking the bank.
No, but I'm saying
you're going. Guess what? You hire Matt Canada, you're going to have the 11th highest paid coach instead of maybe the 12th.
I'm just pointing out that they have the lowest paid assistant coaches in all of the Big Ten.
Oh, an assistant
and the head coach, but. The entire staff is the lowest paid in the Big Ten across the board. Assistants as well. So, but
is Tom Allen gone after this year?
No,
okay.
No way.
Oh,
no, I mean he's only costing $1.8 million. He's not going anywhere.
So what's that equivalent in losses a year?
Apparently, it doesn't matter. Apparently, that's not relevant.
But have you not? And I think I had a discussion with Justin one day, or maybe it was somebody else. I do know a couple IU fans for some reason. I know a lot more. I know IU and UK fans more than I have actually U of L friends. It's bizarre. I'm a weird person. But I do remember having this conversation with someone, and we were talking about from Kevin Wilson to Tom Allen. And has Tom Allen made this program? Has this program taken any steps back since Tom Allen took over for Kevin Wilson? I don't think. Obviously, they haven't taken.
Did you say has it taken any
steps back?
How many?
Well, tell me how they've taken steps back. I understand they have not taken any steps forward.
They went to 3 straight bowl games.
Yeah, but you were 7-6, 6-6, or whatever those bowl games.
3 straight bowl games. Then you go 5-7. And they should not have been 5-7.
Okay.
Then this year, I think they're 4-8 at best. That's, to me, they're going backwards. They are not competitive. They are sometimes, but you don't know what you're going to get. And
yeah, but you had that same kind of feeling with Kevin Wilson to me. I don't think
I disagree. They are always in the game with him. They may not have won, but they are always in the game with when they were there.
I mean, as you mentioned, okay, so as of now, not including this year, in Allen's only one single solo year as a head coach, you were just a one-game difference from the 2 years prior to Kevin.
It's not the game. You're just looking at it on paper.
And I know that one game is a big difference in terms of making a bowl.
But that's just on paper, though. I'm talking about if you follow the program, you can see it is going backwards. It is not improving. It is regressing.
Clearly it's regressing by at least one game after 1 year. Obviously.
Again, you're just looking at numbers. I'm not. I follow the program, so I see the games. The program in itself is regressing. The product on the field is regressing. The mistakes that have been made have been coaching mistakes. They should not have been starting Peyton Ramsey. He's not a winner. He's exactly what he is, a 4-8 quarterback, which is exactly what they're going to end up. If you want to be 4-8, then start Patrick Ramsey. They started Patrick Ramsey. They want to be 4-8.
Well, Tom Allen is a defensive guy.
Exactly.
I mean, you saw the defense's issues during Kevin Wilson's era because he's an offensive guy.
And Tom Allen had cured that, and it was going to be a great combination. Indiana had the.
Too bad Kevin Wilson had to go beat up kids.
That's totally false.
What was he doing? I forget. Was he just making them run too many laps or something?
It went a lot deeper than that. Okay. That was just what was.
Oh, there was more that I'm not mentioning.
No, that's what was said. Okay. I don't know that was all that the case. I mean, I have a lot of players on here that say, yeah. So there's more to it, but the sheer fact that. If you're going to fire a football coach in the Big Ten, you don't walk down the hallway and hire a guy that's never been a head coach. I'm sorry. You at least do some due diligence because 5 days later, Purdue hired Jeff Brom. And Jeff Brom's not going to be at Purdue long. That's understandable. That's fine. He got that program built back up. How much better of a coach would Tom Allen have been had he been able to be under someone like Jeff Brom for a couple of years?
How much is
who was an offensive genius, and he could have at least gotten some offensive experience under a great coach like that. He would be in much, much better shape when Brom left, had that been the case.
Does that bother you more with Tom Allen that you know that if you had waited, you could have had Jeff Brom instead? Like, does that make you feel more negative?
What makes me mad is they didn't make any attempt to do it.
Kind of like when you settle to marry the girl.
They made no attempt. They made no attempt. That's what aggravates me. It's not just Brom. It's whoever was available. A lot of people were available.
Well, I bring it. Brom's a good example because of the timing as well as him going to Purdue.
But I wish they would have talked to him. I wish they would have gotten him. And they could have. They made no attempt. None. He was hired 5 days after Tom Allen was hired. No attempt was made. No one talked to anybody. No. That's what's aggravating.
Well, there was no days in between Tom Allen's hiring and Kevin Wilson's dismissal. It was the same damn press conference.
There was 5. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point.
I mean,
who does that? Who does that?
They didn't even get an intermission in between. I mean, hell, you go see, you go see a long movie. You go see Titanic. At least you get an intermission.
Indiana's got. I think Indiana may be the only Division I program whose athletics director and football coach had zero experience prior to their positions, as their position. That is telling to me. That's why you go walk down the hallway and hire a coach that has no experience.
I feel like this is weird because the last time I was on the show, you were so much happier. Like this is like last time I was here with you were pre-football.
Let's talk about basketball.
You were positive for both basketball and football. Like the baseball team had you pumped.
That's why I'm upset about the football because it should have been.
Now I'm here a few months later and it's like negative Jim, man. Like Jim was so. Last time I did this show, I think with you were cheery, you were pumped. We were making donut bets left and right because you were all over the place. You're like, IU's winning the Big Ten in football, basketball.
Oh, whoa, I didn't say that. Hold on, that is nuts.
They're not going to give them a first down the last half of the season.
Oh.
I was like, you were just all over. I mean, you had banners up in there, pre-made, T-shirts, and here we are. A few months later, it's like life has beaten you down, man. What is wrong? You got a new chair. You got me in here instead of Justin. I mean, there's so many reasons to be positive. The sun might not be up, but come on, man, cheer up. Romeo's here. I mean, at least you haven't had basketball to knock you down yet. I feel like I'll be back here in 3 more months filling in for Justin, and I'll have to take away your shoelaces and belts, man. Come on, cheer up, buddy.
It's all good. Basketball's
you want a cigarette?
Yeah, we're all good. Nope. Upset at football because it should have been good. The season was set up good. The schedule, like Kentucky's schedule, was set up for them, and they took full advantage of that easier schedule.
Well, I think Kentucky has, a few more better players than IU does, especially on defense.
Not the point that I'm making. You're not listening to me. What I said was the schedule was set up for them to do well, and they took full advantage of it to do well.
Oh, well, I think you said the same as UK, and UK took advantage of their schedule.
I use them as an example because their schedule is also set up in their benefit, and they took full advantage of it. Is what I was saying.
Well, not Saturday, but yeah.
Overall,
they didn't take. They had a very good chance of winning the ACC East on Saturday. They didn't take advantage of that.
Yeah, but I never expected them. Matter of fact, I bet Justin. I said, "There's no way they cover that game."
Ooh, I kind of liked them +9 too in that game.
Oh yeah. I thought they were going to get beat by 2 to 3 touchdowns.
I have a very bad history.
They don't have an offense.
Yeah, but their defense usually is good enough to hold somebody between that 17 to 24 area where they usually do score, though. Unfortunately, they were unable to tackle either Holyfield or Swift this weekend. And as a little fan, I completely can feel your pain in not being able to stop a running back.
But they're going to be in a very good bowl game. Purdue will end up in a nice bowl game. And that's...
Braum has more big top 25 wins this season, or let me rephrase that. He has more top 25 wins in the last 3 weeks than than Petrino has in the entire 2.0 era.
Oh, yeah. I was actually looking over the numbers. Petrino, it's bad. And can you imagine, how bad would it have been if Lamar Jackson hadn't come along?
It could have been, we could have been in the situation 2 years ago.
Which... maybe Louisville fans would have been happier if it had been 2 years ago, but no, then you wouldn't have had a Lamar, and that was worth the show itself. That was a hell of a show. It was a hell of a show, man. That's a once in a lifetime thing. Yeah, you got to take that. That's a once in a lifetime.
But then again, you're left also just kind of looking at the negative side of a wasted Heisman Trophy winner, and which was talked about by Louisville fans in the process of the situation going on. But
some truth there.
I mean, then you got to look back and go, what could have been because of the player that you had.
Well, we got to get to a break. We got a lot coming up today on the show. Drew Davis from Peaks.com is here. We're talking about IU basketball. John Bowl will join us. And Don Fischer, of course, as he is on each Monday. IU soccer as well. All that and more coming back here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this. This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Got a problem with your big truck? Kentucky Anna's Premier Truck Center is here to help. For over 30 years, truck drivers and fleet operators have depended on their great service center off I-65 in Clarksville. And now you can get the same level of service, repairs, and part selection that's been offered for generations and save on bridge tolls with their new location on the Outer Loop in South Louisville. They're an authorized Mack, Volvo, and Hino dealer and service center, but they service all makes and models of trucks. Kentucky Anna's Premier Truck Center.
Back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, November 5. Hope you're doing well and you had a good weekend. Jim Coyle sitting in with you. Changes are coming to Minnesota. University of Minnesota football coach P.J. Fleck announced yesterday, that defensive coordinator Rob Smith has been relieved of his duties. So it's not impossible to make a coaching change in the middle of the season when your season sucks. Huh. Imagine that. Funny. I guess that only happens in Minnesota. These decisions are always difficult, especially when they involve a close friend and colleague, said Fleck. I want to thank Rob, Amy, and their family for all the time and energy they spend helping the program. Rob is an elite man and will always be a dear friend of mine. But down the road he goes. P.J. Fleck obviously serious about turning that program around. I guess he got revitalized after beating Indiana. Changes are made. Changes have been requested in Bloomington. We'll see if those happen.
Do you at least do the initial what Minnesota's doing, where the head coach is on the hot seat, so they spend a year firing the coordinators and before they fire the head coach?
That's usually
that's
how
how
it goes.
you go. What you do? You
Cheapest way out.
You get your head coach. They say you get 3 years at least minimum. But what they do is that if they don't like you after 1 year, you fire one of your coordinators.
You start chopping your legs off.
And then if you have it, next thing you know, you're like the Black Knight and Monty Python, you're just hopping around on one leg and with one arm. After year 2, now we're still not happy. You got to fire the offensive coordinator now, or whichever coordinator didn't get fired the year before. And after year 3, guess what? The whole staff is gone. That's what Minnesota's doing. So basically, what you're saying is PJ Fleck will be available in about 19 months.
Very possible. The top 35 poll is out. It's coach's poll. Not a lot of changes at the top. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame. Michigan slides into that 4th spot, though, after LSU took a beatdown from the Crimson Tide over the weekend.
Didn't even watch it.
It was a beatdown. The last I saw was 22-0. That may have been the final score, but that's control, man. That's on the road in Death Valley, so no doubt there. LSU drops down to 9th. They're out of contention for the playoff spot. Michigan sliding into there, and ironically, now you got Notre Dame at number 3, Michigan number 4, 2 teams that have played each other. The only loss Michigan has is to Notre Dame. First week of the season. I'm torn on this because I think Michigan's a better team now than Notre Dame is, but Notre Dame has changed quarterbacks. That was a great win that they got over the weekend at Northwestern. Northwestern's a solid team. But Notre Dame's schedule is not exactly lethal. They've got to go on the road to end the season at USC, and I forget who they play in between there. Syracuse. They do have to go to Syracuse.
Yeah. That's who they play.
They do have a Syracuse. That's the only shot, I think, really for them to lose. But if they go undefeated, I guess you can't argue with it. But I don't know. I'm a little.
No, if you go undefeated, you belong in the BCS tournament, like Central Florida belonged in it last year.
Well, you know what? I can't argue with that because I thought Central Florida belonged, so I can't argue with Notre Dame, even though I don't think they're as good as Michigan. But I can't. So, because I thought Central Florida belonged. And so I guess with that rationale, I've got to stick with it.
I've always stood. Listen. I don't. Whether you're in a mid-major, if you go if you go undefeated, you give a shot in the Final Four. I've always felt like that. Just it's not like going undefeated happens on a regular basis. Granted, we have 3 teams currently right now this late in the season undefeated. It's probably the first time in a long time we've had this many teams undefeated this late. There's a reason why only one team, if any, could be finished an entire season, no matter what their schedule is and what conference they play, and finish undefeated yearly. And if you're one of those 1 or 2, or if something, maybe in this case 3 teams, then guess what? You belong you belong for a chance to play for the national title.
What about a team?
You might get smoked like a left-handed cigarette at a dead concert, but you know what? I don't care. If you go 12-0, you deserve that shot.
What about a Clemson team who plays in the ACC, which is as weak as can be this year? I mean, that conference as a conference is god awful.
It's had its better days.
I mean, it's terrible. Is there a second good team in that conference? You've had to think that long, so I'm going no.
Clemson's backups?
Yeah. That's funny. That probably is the second best team in the SEC.
Dabo Sweeney's kid looked pretty good against Louisville.
And you know where the kid that left Clemson went to, their quarterback?
I think you're right. There's a. I don't think the ACC is. I don't know if it's as bad as. It's not as good as it should be, but I think there's some good average teams. I mean, Wake Forest, NC State. I think there are 2. Syracuse even. I think are good, decent teams. They're good 7-win teams, but no. I mean, the gap between Clemson and the second tier, is a large gap.
Yeah, I mean, they're not having to go through, like, if you're in the SEC, you got LSU, you got Auburn, you got Georgia,
well, I don't know.
You got Alabama.
I don't know if Vince Auburn's much better than NC State, really. Well, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, you don't have LSU.
Yeah.
You don't have that what you don't have, really, is that second team. That's the difference between, like, you mentioned SEC. Obviously, you have Alabama, LSU, and you have Georgia. So, I mean, you have that second, or even in SEC's case, third team. In the Big Ten, you have Michigan, you have Ohio State, you have, I guess Wisconsin, maybe? Wisconsin. I don't know. Is Wisconsin really?
The funny thing is, Purdue is up there with that on that side of the bracket. Purdue's fighting for the divisional championship.
Yeah,
starting 0-3, no less.
And listen, Purdue is not that's how much that's one reason why I'm such a man crush on it. Jeff Brom is because Purdue is not the most talented team.
No,
I mean,
a lot of that is coaching.
Yeah, I mean, no, I can say 80% of that. I mean, honestly,
but
outside of Rondell Moore.
But they do have. See, I was going to say they do have some players. I mean, if you got guys making plays, you got players. No, I'm not saying that they're full of 5-stars. They're not. That's another. Shows you how hell of a coach Jeff Brom is.
Yeah,
what he's done with that, it's a little amazing, to be honest with you.
So when you look at the ACC, I mean, yeah, obviously.
What about him going to the NFL? I thought he may be a shot to go to the Browns.
I would be. I would be shocked if an NFL team would hire him at this point. I mean, I don't know if he's earned enough.
He played in the NFL.
His
brother played in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean they were there.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, he does have a Super Bowl. I don't know if he got a ring when he was with the
San
Niners.
Francisco, right?
Yeah, but he was also on that Chargers team. I think I forget because he played for both the Chargers and Niners.
More importantly, he played in the XFL.
Yeah, because he has a pulse, and it's football he played. Damn you, Quentin Carver. The former. I don't know why I always remember the guy that knocked him out in that game. That was Quentin Carver, the former Arizona State defensive end, who was just a bust for the Cowboys as a top 20 pick. I'd be surprised. That would be a Cleveland thing to do, kind of. But I would be. I don't foresee that this close in his future. At one point, I would not be surprised though.
Oklahoma's Georgia's number 5. They're right outside that top 4. This is the AP poll though, not the college football.
Yeah, well,
playoff.
that comes out on Tuesday or something, doesn't it?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night,
yeah. It's usually pretty similar. You know that Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame is going to be at the top, and I would assume that Michigan's probably going to slide in that 4th spot.
Yeah, Michigan or Georgia. It'll be one of the two.
Which they're 4th and 5th right now. Georgia's 5th. But you got Oklahoma right behind them, West Virginia, and then Ohio State. Ohio State is not. I don't think they're that good. They're 8-1, and I've seen them play. I've seen them play in person. I've seen them play on TV. They're a good team, but they're not. They have done nothing to really impress me. Michigan is by far the best team in the Big Ten.
Michigan going to have to beat Ohio State.
They have to beat them, which is something Jim Harbaugh has not had much success of.
No,
As a matter of fact, I don't know that he's beat them at all since he's been there.
He hasn't. I don't think you can use the word much there.
Well, he was 1-5 against them and Michigan State going into this season. He's already knocked off Michigan State, so now he's 2-6.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he is
zip for whatever.
Yeah,
this is his opportunity, and
be 0-4, I think maybe.
He better win this one. There's a lot. There's not just the
0-3
aspect of beating them. It's just there's a lot on the line this year. They've got to get to the Big Ten championship game and win so they can move forward into that college football playoff. Kentucky only dropped to 12th. Your guys at UCF, they're hanging there 11 at 8. They're 8-0 still. 8-0 still.
So we could have 4 undefeated teams in the BCS championship tournament.
Wouldn't that be something? But here's the funny thing: last year they did not give Central Florida the love. Central Florida ended up playing Auburn in a bowl game, who was the only team to beat Alabama last year. And what happened? Central Florida beat Auburn's ass. So that alone says they screwed up last year. Don't make the same mistake this year.
They're not going to put them in.
No chance. They got no chance.
No,
because they have no cachet. They bring no money to the table.
You might as well cue Vince McMahon's music because he's got no chance in hell.
Yep, they bring no chance. Cincinnati jumped into the top 25, man.
Good for Cincinnati.
Michigan State's number 24, Iowa State 23, North Carolina State, your boys from the ACC. They got a second team ranked. Holy cow!
NC State's a decent team too. I mean,
6-2.
They're obviously not going to be any world beaters, but they're not any.
Who have they beaten outside the ACC?
Oh, I could not tell you off the top of my head.
Probably no one, since most people don't play a big game outside the conference.
Let's see here. James Madison, Georgia State, Marshall, and then they finished the season with East Carolina, which I want to think that's probably maybe a rescheduled game, possibly. That's weird. Well, I guess East Carolina maybe is some kind of division or rival game in some way, but that's who they closed out with at a conference.
LSU was held 196 yards.
So not a lot. Marshall, I don't know how good Marshall. I like Marshall with Doc Holliday.
We are Marshall.
Yeah, and I guess their coaches. I've been kind of a fan of Doc Holliday as a coach. He's a former offensive coordinator at West Virginia for years. But yeah, they're not. Marshall's 5-3. I mean, they're an average team. They're usually a competitive team, though, at least. But they got beat 20. They beat them 27-10. I mean, NC State's again. I mean, it's not a great team. I mean, you look, Clemson destroyed them, but I think they're a competitive team. They'll beat the hell out of Louisville. Let's see who's NC State's running back. They'll have 200 yards against Louisville. That doesn't matter what his name is. He's still going to have 200 yards against Louisville.
Got Drew Davis coming up on the show today from Peaks.com. We'll talk some hoops. John Bowl as well. Don Fischer, he joins us. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle right after this.
So I'm singing, and this is my kind of love. It's the kind that moves on. It's the kind that leaves me alone. Yes, it does. And this is my kind of love.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
Today's guest is brought to you by Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when Mother Nature strikes. BrooksRoofingIN.com.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, November 5. Joined now by Drew Davis from Peaks.com. Drew, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Good. Basketball season is here. It's about to kick off for real tomorrow night. The Hoosiers open up play at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall against Chicago State. Something that Archie's going to have that he's not accustomed to having is some shooting. Especially we saw a little bit of that in the exhibition game against Southern Indiana. Evan Fischer, of course, but some other guys were hitting shots. Zach McRoberts was hitting, but Demise lit it up in the second half.
Yeah, he certainly has a lot more shooting than last year. A team that honestly just really struggled from outside, and they actually had to shoot it well to win games. They wanted to have a chance, where this team has more ways to win. But you had a guy like Evan Fitzner, nice touch, good outside shooter. Even showed a lot of skill against USI. I thought that three-pointer in the corner where the guy closed out hard and he kind of went under the closeout and put the ball on the floor and still managed to stay behind the three-point line in the corner. But that showed a lot of skill for a four-man. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of guys in the Big Ten that are capable of that. And that was something Monty Watson, the USI head coach, even mentioned after the game, and I definitely agree with that. Then you have Demise Anderson, who's unconscious from three-point range. He's going to let it fly no matter if he's hitting them or not. That's what a shooter does, and Demise is one of those guys that just he's not affected by misses, and he's just going to be able to keep shooting it. And you look at those two guys as two really good shooters, and then guys like Zach McRoberts are an interesting guy. It'll be interesting to see how well he shoots the three ball this year and how much he shoots it. I think we saw the exhibition against USI. He let a few fly, but I want to see what he does when the games get a little more meaningful from back there.
Yeah, and for someone like Demise Anderson, this is an opportunity to find some playing minutes, because that's something that's going to be very, very hard to come by on this team as far as a player, finding them. They're very deep, and there's only so many minutes to go around. But you shoot the three ball with great consistency, I assure you, you're going to find yourself on the court.
Yeah, if you can shoot it with consistency, it kind of makes up for a lot of deficiencies. Obviously you're going to have to be able to play a little bit of defense, and if you can't put the ball on the floor, that's going to hurt you. But if you just shoot it well, it's going to be hard for a coach to keep you off the floor, and I think that's the thing for Demezi is his shot. He shoots so well that it's going to at least make it a tougher decision for the coach on whether he's going to play or not.
The Hoosiers are a little banged up as they go into this season opening game against Chicago State tomorrow night. Some guys are still not going to be available. I think Devontae Green, I've not heard if he's going to be available yet, but as of last, he wasn't. So they're beat up a little bit.
Yeah, a couple guys missed the exhibition against USI, Jerome Hunter, Race Thompson, and Devontae Green. It'll be interesting to see if they play tomorrow night against Chicago State. I hate to use the word injuries, but I don't know. I don't think these injuries are so bad. To be honest, I think they're more erring on the side of caution than anything, because it's so early in the season. You might as well not push anyone to get back if they're not truly 100%. And especially when you're playing a team like Chicago State, when you may not need those guys. And it'll be interesting to see if they do play, and if some of those guys are able to play. I'm interested to see what Devontae Green and Jerome Hunter bring to the table, because this would be my first time getting to see them in live game action.
Well, for anybody for that matter, none of Hoosier fans have been able to see those guys go at it on the Indiana team. But also in that game the other night against Southern Indiana, you had Al Durham and Deron Davis leave the game with injury of sorts. We did see Al Durham in a walking boot, but Indiana is known for using walking boots for preventative measures and things like that. But they could be down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Al will play or not. If I just making a guess, I would say he probably will, because I think they kind of just pulled him out after those 7 minutes more to be cautious than anything. They already had 3 guys out, so they probably looked at it like, oh, we don't need another person with another injury. So I thought that was more of what that was. And Deron Davis, I think it was more of just a kind of conditioning thing, probably getting back into shape thing, where he was just out of gas, at the end of that exhibition game. So we'll see what happens with those two. But like I said, I don't expect these injuries to be anything like lingering and serious across the entire season.
The Hoosiers open up the season now. Their first couple of games, they're not going to be challenged, but it's not very long. Too deep in, I think maybe the third game or so, they have to play a Marquette team who has some very, very good shooters. Indiana's defense obviously very far along this season. The offense is lagging a little bit. They have the opportunity to work on that offense in these couple of games before they play a team like Marquette. But they're going to have to have the offense moving in pretty good fashion when Marquette comes to play.
Yeah, it's going to be a big test for Indiana, man. Marquette can really play. They have a lead guard, Marcus Howard, that he's actually got IU ties. His dad was a running back for Indiana, I think back in the 80s or so, and he can really score the basketball. He averaged about 20-plus points per game last year. Really good scorer, and then they have a nice complementary scorer in Sam Hauser, who shoots a very high clip from long range. He probably shoots about 7 3-pointers a game last year, I think is what it was, and he hit about 4 of them. Averaged about 4 of 7 per game, which is pretty dang good. And they added his little brother Joey, who's bigger than him. Joey Hauser, he was a top 100 guy coming out of high school. He also has a unique advantage of already having an extra semester at Marquette because of a high school injury his senior year. He enrolled at the mid-semester, so he has an extra semester under his belt, and Joey can score it. He can play kind of on the block sometimes, but he also has the ability to step out and knock down threes. He's got great touch, a lot of skill. So that Marquette's going to be a team that can absolutely score the basketball, and against the pack line defense with the way they play, I think it'll be a very unique and interesting matchup to watch. Strength on strength there.
What about from a recruiting standpoint? Any recruits expected to be at the Chicago State game at Simon Scott Assembly Hall tomorrow night?
I actually have not heard anything yet, but as we saw against USI on the exhibition, things can kind of pop up, especially, a guy like Anthony Leo that lives like probably a couple blocks away from Assembly Hall. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them, make the trip down for that game. But I definitely expect some recruits to start making trips down. Probably more so when the games start to get a little, more interesting, per se.
And as the season goes along, the high school season will get kicked into full gear, so they'll have less of a chance to come to Assembly Hall for that. But Trace Jackson Davis is one of the people that a decision is imminent on him of where his college choice is going to be. That is probably maybe within a week or so of hearing from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically at this point we're just kind of waiting for Trace to set a decision date after he gets through being in the decision-making mode. But things have been a little quiet there, But basically, the next step is when will Trace make his decision?
That's my thoughts exactly. As we move forward, though, then you've got guys like Keon Brooks who have also the recruiting has gone quiet, which is unusual, but for this time of year especially. But everything's gone quiet. You're not hearing much out of those guys.
Yeah, that a lot of times that'll happen when guys move closer to a decision. Things will start to get quiet. Obviously, Keon still has a little bit of ways to go before that. No decision timetable is imminent for him, so we'll just have to wait and see. And it's the best way I would describe it is with Keon, it's kind of on just standby to kind of just see what happens over the next few weeks and if he will even make a decision in the fall. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out with him.
Absolutely. Over the weekend, he had quite a few former Hoosiers in action in the pros. What a game by the Indiana Pacers and Victor Oladipo Friday night against the Celtics. The Celtics, to me, and I posted this, obviously, when LeBron left, clear path for the Celtics back to the finals as the favorite for the East. But Victor Oladipo, with one shot, says, not so fast, my friend, as he nailed that three-pointer to win the game against the Celtics Friday night. So maybe it's the Pacers that need to be feared instead of the Celtics. You can't say that on paper, but they certainly made themselves known Friday night in that victory.
Yeah, you got a couple teams up in the East, kind of battling out. You got Boston, Philly, Toronto, Milwaukee, and Indiana. Those kind of five teams, and a big win for the Pacers on Saturday night against the Celtics. They really force-fed Vic down the stretch. They're really trying to do everything in their power to get him good looks, and he was able to cash in on them. It was a nice little duel individually between him and Kyrie Irving in the final few minutes as they were both hitting big shot after big shot, and Vic ultimately was able to make that last big one and give the Pacers a win. And something I found interesting was Vic has the highest clutch point rating in the league, which that's a big deal to me because if you're making shots when it matters, that's what I put a lot of stock into, and Victor's certainly been able to do that.
Well, your confidence just continues to soar. Not that he doesn't have confidence. He obviously does because he didn't go for the tie. He wasn't going for anything other than the win. He just pulled up. He had the shot. He said, he goes, I'm going for the win. And he pulled up and he nailed it like he was shooting a layup. But he definitely has the eye of the tiger this year. Last year when they got beat, recall he tweeting from the locker room immediately about getting to work the next day and all that. So he's not only did he seem serious about that, but he's following through on the court. You knocked out a shot like that. That's a big shot. That's a big time shot against a big time team, and it sends a big time message.
Yeah, it does. Pacers go to 7-3 with that win, and sends a message to kind of the East that Indiana is here to play, and Victor's a guy that you're going to have to do everything in your power to shut down, and he's carrying a big load for Indiana right now. He's been good night in, night out. Double-figure scorer. He shot it well, and Victor's just a guy that continues to play better and better each time out. And it's going to be really interesting to see what he's able to do with Indiana the rest of the season and how high he's able to get them in the finishing order in the East. And when playoff time rolls around, it'll be interesting to see just how far Victor can carry that team.
Well, for that team to go anywhere, I still believe that before the trade deadline comes later on in the season, they have to make a move. They're still a star short. They need another star on that team to go with Victor Oladipo, I think, to not only get to the finals, but to be competitive and to have a chance to put an NBA banner up.
Yeah, I think I don't think they'll make a big splash at the deadline, even though they need to. I think they're kind of looking at free agency maybe as a way to do that, because pretty much like all their guys, other than like Victor, Sabonis, and Turner, there might be a few others. There's most of them are going to be free agents this year, so it'll be interesting to see what the Pacers do in free agency with a lot of roster flexibility. But the biggest thing they do need is another athletic wing that can defend a little bit, because you look at the Pacers play a team like the Bucks, and they need someone to guard Giannis Antetokounmpo. Thad Young has to guard him all game, and Mike Budenholzer realized that in the first meeting and played Giannis the entire first half. And by the end of the first half, Thad Young was just absolutely gassed by chasing Giannis around for an entire half. So I think they need to get someone else that can defend a little bit and help Thad out on those wings, because night in, night out, most nights you're playing a good wing in this league, and that can get taxing, especially for a guy like that, no matter how much of a blue-collar guy he is. But I think that's what the Pacers need to find at the deadline.
Sounds good. Drew Davis at Peace.com. We appreciate it, man. Talk to you again at the end of the week.
All right, man. I'll talk to you at the end of the week, and have a good one.
You as well. Drew Davis from Peace.com, brought to you, of course, by Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when Mother Nature strikes. You can find him at brooksroofinyin.com. We've got a lot more coming up on the program today. John Fischer, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, of course, joins us. Stay tuned. Coming up right here on Indiana Sports Beat.
But it's on the table, the fire's cooking, and the farming babies with slaves are working. The blood is on the table, and the mouths are choking. I'm going hungry.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Good day. Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, November 5, 2018. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Indiana Sports Beat, Jim Coyle here on this Monday. Great weekend of sports. A lot of football games. Got to see a lot of college games.
A couple texts in the show this morning. One says Louisville will right the ship in time to beat IU handily in 2023. Is that when they play 23?
It's a ways off. I didn't know it was that long off. I knew it was a ways off.
Once before then.
I think so. I thought so too.
I thought it was like 20 and 22.
I thought that sounds. Yeah, I agree with you.
But I think I get the Texas point a little bit. I don't think that was. Their point wasn't to be exact today, but to say Louisville will be.
Well, all they got to do is hire Jeff Brom. They already got the ship righted.
Well, I think Louisville has talent. I think just hire someone who maybe, I don't know, cares.
That is the thing. And before we go into the next text, but I want to come back to that because has Petrino cared? They look like it's just going through the motions. There's no sense of urgency.
If he does care, I hate to see him when he doesn't.
I'm telling you, it's
like this is Petrino caring. It's like when it's like watching, seeing the guy, who doesn't smile. Smiles like I am smiling. I don't want to see it.
And does he have a family member that's not on staff?
His third cousin married on his wife's side.
Now, with all full disclosure, I mean, you got the Broms, but there's a slight difference. Most of them have played professional football.
They're good at coaching. Yeah,
I mean, there's a little difference.
I mean, Louisville fans like to point. You are hard not to find a staff in a Power 5 conference especially with a coach who has tenure somewhat like Petrino, that doesn't have nepotism at some point in their program.
Of course.
I mean, it's almost impossible.
Well, those are people you trust. I mean, I would think.
Now, there might be levels of degree on how much nepotism you give in terms of hiring, but there's always going to be. I guarantee Tom Allen has a cousin or nephew somewhere on that
His
staff.
son's on the team.
His son's okay, so I mean, yeah.
His son starts on the team as a freshman. Rightfully so. Now I will say that, but yes, but yes, I agree with you. But it's hard not to, because who do you trust more than the people that are closest to you?
Your family, yeah.
So just kind of making a joke with it, but there's some truth to the Petrino thing, because those guys don't have that big long resume. The Brahms, that's a little different story. They got a resume longer than your arm.
And Brian played NFL in Division I, where Nick played at Trinity.
Exactly.
The Joker who did say that text, he wants to send in a picture to remind me that apparently he was not incorrect with his year, that the series does start September 16th, 2023 in Lucas Oil, followed by hey, Joker, your text is out of date because it says Papa John's Cardinal Stadium in 2024. By then, it might be Domino's. Another texter who, if it hadn't been from an 825 area code, I would have thought was my mom, said Trevor should be on the show every day. The show was way better with him. Unfortunately, texter, I hate to tell you something. I'm flattered, but I am not getting up at 5 a.m. 5 days a week.
I promise you.
That ain't happening. Just so savor the flavor, my friend, because it ain't happening on a regular basis.
Enjoy it. You got Justin back on Wednesday.
You guys are more manly. If it's more manly to get up at 5 a.m., then guess what? I'm less of a man. I will take that. I'll take that hit to my pride and sleep an extra few hours a day.
Yeah,
especially during Red Dead Redemption time. I mean, I'm playing way too much PS4 the last 2 weeks. I can't be getting to bed that early. I had trouble getting to bed before 1 a.m. last night.
I hear you. Over the weekend, the Hoosier soccer team began.
Okay, these roof people are driving me nuts, man.
This what is?
These roof people. Can you hear it too?
Oh, they
are loud above me, man. Wow.
Hoosier soccer program started Big Ten play for the tournament yesterday up at Bill Armstrong Stadium, Jerry Yeagley Field. They took on Penn State. The Hoosiers are the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Of course, number 2 ranked team in the country.
What sport was this again?
Soccer.
Okay. Men or women's?
Men's.
Okay.
Hoosiers are looking for their 9th national championship, coming off of a season last year, which they finished undefeated, but yet did not win a thing. Lost the runner-up to the national championship last year to Stanford. Only game they lose that entire season. So that was a tough road to hoe. But they are looking to rebound this year. They've already went undefeated through the Big Ten, won the Big Ten Conference, now in Big Ten Conference tournament play. That moves up to Westfield, north of Indianapolis. This Friday, the Hoosiers will play Michigan State at 1 o'clock in the semifinals, as the finals will be the following day. But looking to add another trophy as they will move on to NCAA tournament play after that, which they'll return back to Bill Armstrong Stadium for the first couple of games, so you'll be able to catch a few games there.
Former coach?
Who's that?
Bill Armstrong.
You know what? It's a good question, and I do not know.
I'm just curious.
But the field is Jerry Yeagley Field, and it is the former coach who won 6 national championships, who's the father of the current coach, Todd Yeagley, who also has won a national championship.
So let's assume maybe Bill Armstrong is a donor?
You know what? It could be something that goes back, and I should know that. And I'm embarrassed to say I will know.
It makes you feel better. I'm not gonna like think less of you for not knowing the.
Well,
an IU soccer.
I should have just asked that question myself a long time ago. That's why
I've heard you say it twice. So the naming the field, and when you said it separately, I was.
It's been that for quite a while. So
it was named after William Armstrong. Thank you, Wikipedia, by the way. Remember the days before Wikipedia, and we just guessed. I mean, we had no idea.
You mean lied?
Yeah, we talked out of our rear end like we knew what we were talking about. We had to go find a book.
Because no one could prove you wrong.
Exactly. He was named after William S. Armstrong, who doesn't have his own Wikipedia page. I mean, I think we have our own Wikipedia page, who was the president of Indiana University Foundation for many years, as well as an avid supporter of the athletic program and Indiana University. So
there's your little bit of trivia that now I know.
He was involved heavily in the Little 500, and he can be seen in the movie Breaking Away as the official starter of the race. Saying, gentlemen, mount your
I'll be
bicycles.
dang.
Breaking Away. Is that a popular movie at 79?
Well, it's not. It was Dennis Quaid was in it. It's kind of based on the Little 500. If you're not familiar with it.
Okay, well, I guess that's why he was in the movie then.
Yeah, but yeah, very, very, very cool. But
So
yeah,
there you learned something new about IU today.
I certainly did, thanks to Trevor.
No problem. I'm going to take the rest of the day off. You can handle the next show.
You deserve it, man. You deserve it. Got Don Fischer coming up on the show yet today, and John Bowl as well. Shoot if you got any questions, you can shoot them into the text line. Also, any comments, 502-414-1450. Get those knocked out as well. What's going on this weekend? Tomorrow, Chronic Hoosiers on the show, of course. Mike Schumann as well. Maurice Creek will be on the program this week. Looking forward to talking to Mo about some IU basketball. The Hoosiers in action tomorrow night as they open up the 2018-19 basketball season against Chicago State at Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
Where's Mo Creek ranking your IU players of the what-if factor?
Oh,
the guy. I mean, there's always every favorite sports fan of the favorite team has that kind of the what-if guy.
Well, I can tell you this.
And usually it's injury, sometimes related to maybe tenure being cut short for off court.
Well, I can tell you this only because I know what his stats are and what he is doing, and even though it's over in Europe, but I know he's leading like 10 categories. If there's 10 categories, he's leading like 5 of them, and he's playing a guard. But one of those categories includes blocks. To me, that's impressive when you're a guard and you're leading your league in blocks.
What was Creek? What, 6'4", 6'5", maybe?
I think he was that. But
when was he at IU? Remind me again.
He was in the Tom Crean era, the very beginning of the Tom Crean era.
He wasn't the first year. I think he was wasn't he like the second year? Or
yeah,
something?
I think that I don't know if it's 9.
Yeah,
or
he was
10.
in the first class. Yeah, he was 6'5" guard. Average score 16 points. I always remember him for being the game he blew up against
Kentucky. 31 points.
And then was never just he
blew
stay healthy.
He cracked his kneecap.
Yeah, never could stay. He played 12 games his freshman year, played 18 his sophomore year, did play 24 in his junior year, but only played 8 minutes a game. That, of course, by then IU had already added talent and started to become good.
But, yeah, he was
then went to George Washington where he played but didn't really I guess he had 14 a game, so he had a good season at George Washington.
He's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a defensive player. When I was talking to him the other day, I said Archie Miller would kill 3 5-stars to have you on his team right now because he is the prototypical Archie Miller player. And by that I mean this dude plays some badass defense. Again, he's leading his league in blocks as a guard. But he's in steals and points, and he's just an all-around great player. He's developed into a tremendous player.
Where's he at over in Europe?
You know what? I keep forgetting. What's the name of the country that starts with a K that used to be in Russia? I don't know.
Says here he plays for Kyiv, Kyiv, Kyiv Baskets. It's a Ukrainian basketball.
The Ukraine, that's it.
Yeah. It's actually K's the second letter, but you're close enough.
Yeah.
it's UK, but that's okay.
The Ukraine.
I'm not one to talk about anyone's spelling, trust me.
I was thinking it was a
now,
country with a K.
Now I'm thinking it was Seinfeld when they're playing Risk. He's like, all you have is the Ukraine. The Ukraine is weak. It's putrid. And the guy's on the subway with them. I'm from Ukraine. We are no weak.
Yeah, not fun at all. But yeah, Mo Creek, has turned into a great player. And Archie Miller would love to have that type of player on his program. I mean, that dude he's just bad.
I got bored a couple months ago during the non-very good betting season and started betting on European basketball. got kind of hot over in the Saudi Arabian basketball league. Got on a Talib. Was it Talib? What was the country that I was rolling with? I had one team. They had Daquan Cook on their roster, with the old Ohio State guard. So they had him and Glenn Rice Jr. I just kept riding them. I won like
Saudi Arabia's got to pay well.
I don't even remember.
No, I don't mean the betting. I mean the playing.
You would think, well, you're only allowed to have 2 Americans on a roster there.
Same thing with a lot of the leagues over there in all the different sports. But I guess the one thing is, I don't know, it may pay well in Saudi Arabia, but I don't think you want to lose or miss a free throw. They chop a handoff or something.
And I think that's for shoplifting.
Okay.
Or actually, no, marriage is a punishment for shoplifting in those countries. According to Wayne, when he's talking to Garth. I didn't, and listen, I know nothing about this. All I did when I made these bets was I went to the roster, and whoever had the most Americans I recognized the name of, I went with that team. That's why the team with Glenn Rice and Dave Walker, I was like, I know both those guys are both good.
If it was a winning strategy, it works, so it's all that matters.
I had a couple good winning days, or actually nights, because they were, I would bet on the game, then wake up next morning and see how it went. I did find a website that followed those play-by-play, too, which is weird.
John Bull and Don Fischer coming up here on the program, Indiana Sports Beat. We've got a lot more coming. Stay tuned. We're right back after this.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, November 5, 2018. Hope you're having a great day and a good start to it. We are as well. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Now joined by John Bull from Wave 3 News. John, how are you, sir?
Hey, Jim, what's up?
Oh, I'm just reading your text about spending anywhere from $75,000 to $300,000 in my life on smartphones because I'm about to go get another phone.
My tweet today? Yeah.
Yes, and I'm like, golly, he's not off probably because these things are nuts, man. These phones are like $1,000 a pop now.
Yeah, plus all your all the payments you make, your contracts over the course of a lifetime. They say anywhere from $75,000 to $300,000 if you start calculating from the time a little kid gets one.
And here's a stat for you: the guy that I was talking to said that there's more computing power in this phone than there was on that sent the men to the moon.
Yeah, I believe it. The things we can do with the phone, it's really amazing. I know. I used my phone all weekend long with TBG making bank, baby, at the Breeders' Cup.
That was your deal. That's your baby. How'd the Breeders' Cup go? Obviously, it sounds like it went well for you from a betting perspective.
Yeah, on Saturday, I had every race, even when I didn't hit, I had it nailed. I had like 3 of the top 4 finishers. I had multiple pick 3s. If I would have bet the pick 5, but I was too cheap to do that, that paid over $500. It was a great day. I mean, the headline of the day, I think, was Enable, the filly winning back-to-back Arc de Triomphes, and then coming over here a couple of weeks after the second one and winning the Breeders' Cup Turf. That's huge, beating the boys. Monomoy Girl winning the distaff after the Oaks. And I got to be with her and trainer Brad Cox on Friday on Sunrise. We did like the NBC walk to the track thing live. It was really cool. And then, of course, Accelerate. I mean, the funny thing about the Classic was if you looked at the past performances there, the data, I mean, that was the easiest selection of all time. That horse had NBA numbers for Beyer speed figures for like the last 9 races. There's no way it was going to get beat. Ran 4 wide the whole way, won easily. So, and then they finished with the 3rd best attendance ever in the Breeders' Cup. So it was a really good time. It was a good day.
I'll be honest with you. I saw one race of the entire Breeders' Cup. I actually was off this weekend. Indiana had a bye or whatever you want to call it, off week. So. And they played on last Friday night, so it was unbelievable. I had 2 consecutive Saturdays of watching football, which doesn't happen very often, and that's exactly what I did. But I did catch one Breeders' Cup race when I was looking up, and it must be the one you're talking about because the winning horse, he came out, was getting pushed out of turn forward. He was in the middle of the track, and they were at least 4 or 5 wide, and he had the longest trip, but he never gave – once he got the leader on the bottom stretch, he did not give it up. And it's like, man, that horse is strong because he's coming from the middle of the track, having to go further distance.
Yeah, that was accelerate 4 wide pretty much the whole race. And the interesting thing about the Classic this year was the runner-ups. You had Thunder Snow finished last in the Derby a couple of years ago, got up in there. Gunnevera, a nag, I think finished like 7th in the Derby. He never has done much, got up in there. Mendelssohn finished last in the Kentucky Derby, got up for like 5th. So, yeah, it was the dime superfecta paid $1,600. The 50-cent trifecta paid $806. I mean, they were huge payouts.
Man, sounds
I'm
good.
gonna do something today. I've only done one at a time in my life. I'm gonna call TVG up and get a check sent to me because I got too much money in my account.
Well, that's a good problem to have. If you need any help with that, I can give you some account numbers to have that transferred to. But congratulations.
Yeah, so you got to watch a lot of football. Now, I didn't see the only good game I really saw was the West Virginia ending. And I got to tell you, man, that the head coach for West Virginia, was it Dana Halverson or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
That coach is awesome, man. That guy, I love that guy. He's like, they score the touchdown, draw within 1. He looks at the staff. What do you think, boys? Want to go for 2? Like, just cool, man. Just cool.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. You got Michigan now sliding up into that top 4 spot, right underneath the Notre Dame, an undefeated Notre Dame team who got a good win over the weekend. They had to play at Northwestern, which Northwestern's a solid team, and so that's a good win for Notre Dame. But
yeah, I watched that game. And because the Alabama game was unwatchable. The Alabama game was like every other LSU game that I ever remember. LSU is the only offense more painful to watch than Kentucky's is LSU's. Just awful. And actually, when you think about it, there's just no. This is the least drama of any year I've ever seen. They put up on game day. They put up the point spreads, the Vegas point spreads right now. If Alabama were to play any of these contenders, did you see that at all?
No, I didn't, but I can imagine what it is.
The Vegas point spread for Clemson was 7. Everybody else was like 13, 14, 17, and beyond. It's the Heisman race is over, way over. Tua is so much better than anybody else. And Notre Dame, they're gonna make the playoff. And the thing about Notre Dame is, Northwestern is solid, but when Notre Dame got challenged, and this has happened a couple other games, like when it comes down to it, fourth quarter, it's time to make a drive. Notre Dame makes the drive. They do everything right.
They did. They do everything right and win. That's the most important thing for them right now. So we'll see how that continues to go forward as it does. I got a question for you. Purdue continues to achieve. They had another big win. They beat Iowa over the weekend. Louisville is just in the tank. They gave up 77 points. The fans have just all but quit on that team, or on Petrino, rather. Do they make a change after this season?
Yeah, I'd make the change like now, but they're going to wait. Tyra's going to do the right thing. They're going to wait. I was sitting there with Kent Taylor, who I co-anchored the British Cup post-show special with, and I looked at him, and he said to me, he said, we were talking about something. He goes, it could be worse. You could be like me and have to go do the coach's show. I said, oh, my God, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I've been meaning to ask you, like, how do you, that's got to be hard every week going in and doing the coach's show with Bobby after what has happened. But
to be truthful, I don't know, is there ever a difference if he's winning or losing? His demeanor is the same. It doesn't seem to matter. We were talking about it earlier, whether or not he even cares. It's like, does he even care that they're losing? Does he care that they're winning? I can't even tell a difference in his personality.
Well, his personality's always been the same, so I will say that. It's not like he's more low key. He's always had that personality, even when he was dominating. They're in a jam.
Is Jeff Brom the next coach at Louisville?
I don't think so. I think Jeff Brom, I heard a national commentator last week that I completely agreed with, and it's been my take from the beginning, which is Jeff Brom's going to go bigger. Jeff Brom's going to go. He's going to have about 2 NFL offers. You're going to have the coach Lincoln Riley's going to end up in the NFL for sure.
Does he go? So is he going to be at Cleveland?
Yes, probably. Packers' job might come open. So you're going to have Oklahoma's job's going to be open. Ohio State's might. Auburn's might. Unless the pull of home and redemption is so strong that it overrides everything for Brom, I think he's going to go bigger. I mean, I'd wait for a bigger job.
If Louisville doesn't get Jeff Brom, then who's Louisville going to get? Because they need it. Man, they're in a quandary. The fans are not happy, but they want Jeff Brom.
Yeah, no, I know. It's that's job one for Tyree, man. He's got to get Brom. But if he doesn't, I don't know what they're going to do now. The good news for U of L is, I mean, you in college football, not so much in the pros, but in college, you can turn it around immediately. Charlie Strong came in to a decimated program and turned around right away with some decent talent, and then it just got better. So, but you got to get a recruiter. I mean, you just got to get a recruiter.
Well, if you can win at Northwestern, you can win anywhere. I don't care what anybody says, because just to get into that college, it's not. You have to be. Their standards are much higher. It's like Vanderbilt or like a Duke. It's harder to win at those schools in football because the academic standards are much, much higher. But they're doing it at Northwestern. They've done it before. They've been to the Rose Bowl, and they're back to having a good team again. So if you can build a program there, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Now their facilities are tops in the nation. But yeah, they've got higher academic requirements, and have you looked at I looked at the division standings. Northwestern's all but in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
I don't know how they lose. They're one game up. They're like 5-1, everybody's 4-2. They've already beaten Iowa. They've already beaten the teams behind them, Iowa and Purdue. They've only got one tough game left. And it escapes my mind. No, they've beaten Wisconsin. Maybe it's Iowa.
It's Iowa. They've got one of the 3 left. I know they.
Oh yeah, it's Iowa. But Iowa's a couple of games back, so Iowa's not in the picture. They're right ahead of Wisconsin, and Purdue right now is next back with one more loss. But they've beaten both of them. They've only got one tough game left against Iowa. So even if they drop that, they own the tiebreakers against Purdue and Wisconsin because they beat them. And then the other games for Northwestern are weak. They're like, the Minnesota and somebody else weak. So Northwestern's in. I mean, they're in. Declare it.
And that just earns them a date against most likely Michigan, which Michigan's looking pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, and I did watch a little bit of the Northwestern-Michigan game this year. It was a good game. That's one team that played Michigan pretty close. I was thinking all year long that Ohio State might beat Michigan at home because it's at home, but that's not going to happen, man. When you're squeaking by with a lot of luck and a lot of help, when you're squeaking by Nebraska, you suck. It's not good.
I was thinking, with your ban of NFL games, you pick up the soccer.
No, I've been doing horse racing and fishing, man. I took off again yesterday and went fishing, didn't watch any NFL. I knew the Panthers were going to lose to the Patriots at night. I think McCarthy's gone for Green Bay.
Really? That just so shocks me, man. He's been a part of that franchise he's like what's his name in Pittsburgh. He's just a part of that franchise.
Tomlin?
Yeah.
No, he's in trouble, but he'll end up being a scapegoat. I mean, you're right. It's technically not his fault. He's not doing the shopping. I mean, the problem with the Packers all these years is they've squandered Aaron Rodgers like 13 seasons. He's made one Super Bowl, and they've never supported him with players at all. So, they got nothing. Now, the one good thing I'll say about McCarthy is last week, did you see how they lost last week? They lost on 2 minutes left in the game, a little over 2 minutes. They told the returner not to return the ball out of the end zone, and he did, and he fumbled it. Because they wanted to save time for, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. Right, have Aaron Rodgers and Ty Montgomery return the ball out of the end zone. He returned it, fumbled. They cut him the next day. Now that is what a good coach does.
You're damn
Cut him.
right. How did you see that? The Rams Saints had a game last night that I was really looking forward to. I was a Rams fan growing up as a kid. And I knew that was going to be hell of a. I'm like, oh my God, these are the two best offenses in the NFL, and it did not. It lived up to expectations. A great game, at least from a point standpoint, at least.
The Saints were my Super Bowl pick to begin the season before I began my boycott. I looked up at the monitor today in the newsroom there when they were doing the highlights, and Drew Brees is PlayStation, man. He's like Aaron Rodgers. PlayStation.
Funny you say that. I said the same thing earlier. I said he looks like watching Madden football with him, man. He just puts it up. It's crazy.
He's always been that way. Even I remember him at Purdue.
What else is going on in the world of John Bowl?
I'm working on a really fun story for Thursday on how should I tease it? Local fishing. I went out with the DNR people on a place really close to Louisville that most people think sucks. And they have these special, elaborate nets that they sink into the lake, and then they allow the fish to, like, swim up into them. It's not like electroshocking. They do a fish census where they trap them, essentially, and then go pull them all up. And, man, it's like fishing with Jesus out there. They just pull in by the thousands. And anyway, I think I'll shock you with a local body of water that you did not think was good that has tremendous numbers of fish.
Unbelievable. John Bowl from Wave 3. You can follow him at John Bowl Wave 3 on Twitter as well. John, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you as always.
All right. Have a great week.
You as well. John Bowl, brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry. Sellersburg, over 30 years, Reynolds Family Dentistry has been taking care of the needs of Southern Indiana families. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. We've got Don Fischer on the show coming up here on the program, Indiana Sports Beat, right back after this.
Hey, if you're in the market for a new truck or tractor, car, or ATV, you need to be at Hollis Auction Service on November the 10th. Located on Highway 150 in Greenville, just west of Highway 335, Hollis Auction Service also needs items for the auction. If you're looking to sell, call Billy Joe Hollis today at 502-664-1606. That's 502-664-1606. Make sure you're at Hollis Auction Service in Greenville on November 10th. Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, November 5, 2018, and joined now by the great Don Fischer. Don, how are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How about yourself?
Great. It just occurred to me you have to be well rested, because I noticed I've had 2 consecutive Saturdays of getting to actually watch college football, because Indiana played last Friday a week ago and then had off this weekend, and I'm like, wow, that never happens. And then I thought, wow, you didn't have to do that as well. So that has to be a nice break in the middle of the season like this as you prepare for basketball, no less.
Well, we did have a basketball talk show and a basketball game last week, so we didn't get a total relaxation, but it wasn't bad, trust me.
Absolutely. Looking forward now, the Hoosiers will pick up play on the football field this week as Maryland comes calling with Matt Canada, former coach at Indiana. But a crucial time for the Hoosiers, as they are still looking to be able to pull in 6 wins as they sit with 4 right now with 3 games to go. And Maryland, a great opportunity for the Hoosiers to get one of those wins.
Well, let's face it, realistically, Indiana's in a tough spot. This is a football team that won 4 games early in the year, 4 out of their first 5, and then things have gone downhill since that time because they've gotten in play some of the better teams in the Big Ten without question. They've also laid an egg in their last ball game that they played against Minnesota, which was a game that they very easily could have won had they played up to their capabilities, and unfortunately they did not. They struggled, especially defensively, for the second time this year. A defense that, even though youth has, it's basically a very young defense, they still have played pretty good football this season. throughout most of the year, with the exception of the Iowa ball game and then this ball game against Minnesota. So they've got to erase that. They've got to somehow get through the process. Hopefully the bye week has given them a chance to get healthier, to get ready mentally for this 3-game stretch at the end of the season. And there's no question they've got to win this game against Maryland on Saturday if they hope, I think, to have any chance to go to a bowl at the end of this year. But the most important thing right now is for this team to get back to playing the kind of football we know they're capable of. And the interesting thing about this, Jim, and I know a lot of people are negative about the football team right now, that kind of thing, but when we went into this season, I don't think there were too many people that thought this was going to be a great year for Indiana football simply because they lost so many players from last year, especially on defense, where that was the strength of the team. And yet this year they actually started out and played pretty well on that side of the football and got themselves going offensively. And this is a team still that has a lot of issues in the sense of the talent level that they need to continue to increase and those kinds of things. So, going into the year, I'm not sure that I thought Indiana was capable of winning more than 4 or 5 football games. And I'm not making excuses here. I'm just pointing out the reality of the situation going into the season. And then, of course, you win 4 of your first 5, and now everybody gets all excited. But the reality is this is just the second year of Tom Allen in his coaching debut as far as Indiana football is concerned and as far as college football is concerned as a head man. And I think he's done a remarkable job in the recruiting department. I think we can see that this team has a lot of talent. It's still very young. It's still trying to find itself. So all of those things are positives, and hopefully this bye week has given Indiana an opportunity to kind of heal some of the wounds and get some people back, and they can play their best football here at the end of the season because, let's face it, they're playing 3 really good football teams, and I speak of Maryland in that vein, not because Maryland is 5-4 and that type of thing. I'm talking about a football team that last year beat Indiana in a very hard-fought ball game, and they've got a lot of the same faces back again this year, and it's a team that's gone through a lot of turmoil, and their worst week of the year was last week when they went through the whole process with DJ Durkin and all that. So I apologize for rambling on here, but I wanted to get a lot in before we talk further.
No, it's all valid as well, and you talked about the expectations, and I think that they were magnified because of those wins. But if you are being honest, and myself included, the defense, they lost 8 starters, and they do have a lot of fresh faces on there, and it is hard to make that up on a defensive side. I don't care who you are, man. Defense is tough, and when you're playing in the Big Ten, there are no easy games, and so they've shown that their youth is what it is. It's youth. They are young, and they're going to have to learn from it. And that's all you can say. There's no we could get on them about this or get on them about that, but at the end of the day, they're very young. And replacing 8, not just replacing 8 guys, they lost 8 great defensive players off that team.
They really did. I mean, it was a good defense. It was top 26 or 27 in the country last year. To lose that many faces like that and have to replace those guys, you're going to have some issues, and Indiana certainly has found that out as the year has gone on. But surprisingly, it's not a bad defense. It's a defense that, at least has been capable in most games this year of handling everything. So right now, it's a tough time for this Indiana football team and for the program, and we'll find out how they're going to handle the things in the final 3 weeks of the season. We hope it's an upper rather than a downer, but at this juncture of the season, you're a team that's flawed, and you can see it. You can see where the problems lie. Hopefully they can somehow find a way to smash out 2 wins here in the last 3 ball games. But Maryland's going to be no easy task. I know they got clobbered by Michigan State this past week after going through all that they went through with their coaching change, and not a change in the sense because Matt Canada, who is a former IU guy under Bill Mallory as an assistant coach, and has gone on and been a lot of different places here in the last several years, I think has done a tremendous job with this team, keeping everything together. But last week was such a tumultuous week for that program because of reinstating Durkin for a day and then firing him the next day, and just the craziness of that and all that went through in that decision, I think really flawed them for the week. And obviously they gave Michigan State not much of a battle at all. I think they had probably the worst offensive show they've had in many, many years. I think they had just like 26 or 29 yards rushing, and and barely had more than that passing the ball. Just an awful offensive day for him. And I know one thing about Matt Canada. He'll get them ready to play Indiana on Saturday. There's just no question about that. He's a good football coach. He's a great offensive coordinator. And this is going to be a real test, I think, from Indiana's perspective, because I think this team will bounce back. I'm talking to you on Maryland now, and Indiana's going to have to do the same thing in a game that Indiana can win if they play up to their capability.
Absolutely, Don. And not only are they looking to bounce back, but they're sitting at 5 wins, which means they're a game away from bowl eligibility, and they're not looking at trying to get that somewhere else. They're looking at this weekend as their opportunity to secure bowl eligibility, and you know they're going to come in with that attitude.
There's no question. I mean, the 2 games after they play Indiana are Ohio State and Penn State, so they know this is their opportunity if they're going to play and have a legitimate opportunity to win here, to go to a bowl game in this tumultuous season that they've been through. This is the game they want, so it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Absolutely. And then outside of the football program, quickly soccer doing great there in the Big Ten tournament, ranked number 2 in the country, and they just basically won every Big Ten award this past week. Coach Yeagley, Coach of the Year, I was up there yesterday as they beat Penn State to move on to the Big Ten tournament. So a great season for the Hoosier soccer program, as usual.
Yep, Todd Yeagley has done a tremendous job with the program, no question about that. He's kind of taken over where his dad left off. They haven't won as many national championships in the last several years as they did when Jerry was the coach, but Todd has really done a nice job under more difficult circumstances because soccer's become a much bigger program throughout the country at the college level, and there's more competition these days than there was back in the day, so to speak, and that's not taking anything away from Jerry, but at the same time, it's much tougher now, and of course they got to the championship game and got beat last year in a heartbreaking loss at the very end of that ball game, and they're out to atone for that. And they've had a tremendous year, as everyone knows, and congratulations to the soccer team, and let's hope they can get a Big Ten championship because I know that's one of their goals at this point, and then, of course, on to the NCAA.
Absolutely, and, of course, tomorrow night the Hoosiers open up the 2018-19 basketball season against Chicago State. Last week they had the exhibition game against Southern Indiana. Got to see a lot of the guys play people for the first time. Demezy Anderson got to show his wares out there. Great, and Robert Finney is getting some valuable minutes right now.
Well, there's no question. This is going to be fun to watch this basketball team, and even though I know they've got some injury issues with several players right now, and they're a little shorthanded, they still have a lot of depth in this team and a lot of really good basketball players. I think we saw that the one thing that kind of amazed me in last week's initial performance, at least from a standpoint of playing outside, in an exhibition ball game, I just thought Robert Finney's performance was special. This kid is really going to be a good basketball player at Indiana. He's very smart, really strong, has lots of talent. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he makes up for that and how smart he is, how he plays the game, such control, didn't have a turnover in the 30 minutes that he played. That, to me, is huge for this program and for this basketball team. That's one of the big issues we've had for the last several years is not taking care of the basketball, and I think that's a priority with this team. I also think the defense is, too, and, of course, as you know, Archie Miller was not pleased with the second half of the performance against Southern Indiana when Indiana kind of let down a little bit defensively and gave up a few more points than Archie thought that they should have. But that said, this is a process, too, with a really young basketball team with a lot of talent on it. Romeo Langford, of course, had a tough go in that first exhibition ball game because his shot wasn't going down. You could see, I couldn't believe this. I saw frustration in his face a few times in that ball game, which rarely you see out of Romeo Langford ever. He's such a stoic guy on the floor. And I know he was a little frustrated with his shot not going down like he knows it can and will as the season progresses. But I think this is going to be such a fun basketball year for Indiana fans, and I think that everybody's looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think Romeo's a guy that they don't want to upset because I think if he put his mind to it, he could do some damage with some guys. But as I was watching those guys play, and Finney was specifically who I thought this about, but the other guys, 4 out of 5 of the 5 guys, I remember I was watching play high school basketball last year, and here they are playing not only on a Big Ten floor, but at a Big Ten level right now, and it's just amazing to see them make that jump.
Yeah, there's no question. This is a team that genetically came in, and I say that in the sense of how they came in physically. This is a team that has the genetics. They're big, they're long, that kind of thing. Yes, they needed to put a few pounds on a muscle, and that's what Cliff Marshall's done in the off season. Almost every one of these guys has put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle since they got there, and every one of them will tell you how important that's going to be as the season progresses. Of course, they haven't placed a lot of the Big Ten teams or the top teams in the country yet as far as these young guys are concerned, but the older guys have schooled them in that understanding, and I don't think there's any question. That's a great thing about this ball club. It has some great upper-class leadership in Jawan Morgan and Zach McRoberts and some of these older guys. Those two guys specifically who are named co-captains, I just think they're tremendous leaders, and these guys are listening to what these guys are telling them. It's going to be really fun to watch this team progress as we go on.
Don Fischer, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, we can't thank you enough. Appreciate hearing from you each week, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you having me. Thanks you very much. See you.
Have a great day. Don Fischer, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. That's going to wrap it up for us here today. We're out of here for Trevor. I'll see you tomorrow on the radio. Have a good one.